Hello everyone and welcome to a new video from Your Overwatch. I'm Eddie the Chump and today we're going to be breaking down Sombra by looking at 3 pro players who demonstrate how to use her revamped kit to its fullest extent. Those are Dallas Fuel's Effect, Houston Outlaws Danteh, and Philly Fusion's EQO. Now, Sombra is a very strong hero in this meta in the right places and can provide some of the best answers to other dominant heroes or playstyles. She's actually key at disrupting heroes like Doomfist, who a lot of players find quite oppressive, and she's one of the main reasons tank players can find their roles quite hard to play. Now, one word of warning, she's not a basic hero. She does require quite a lot of game sense, ult tracking and so on. The reason being is that as Sombra, it's your job to stop the enemy team using their biggest weapons. To do that, you need to know what those are at any given time, as that can change dynamically with ult economy and their team comp. But fear not. What we're going to do today is start looking at the simplest ways to get value and progressively ramp up. Trying to learn something incredibly complex all in one go is largely a waste of time, so hopefully I can break it down in a way that's replicable at every stage. With that all said, let's begin. Health packs. Right, so the first thing I noticed is that the pro players mentioned don't obsess about hacking all the health packs in the world. There are 2 exceptions. The first is they do hack health packs that either they can rely on for heals after translocation escapes, or that their team can use conveniently, stress on the conveniently there. There's no point hacking a health pack that your team is unlikely to be able to use as it's so far out of the way, unless of course it's a case of the second exception, which is in denial of health packs that your enemies would like to rely on. Probably the most famous example is the Anubis B Mega Pack Under the Bridge. In quite a lot of high level matches, as soon as the fight is won or lost on A, it becomes a race to see who can secure that pack, as whoever has control of it has a serious advantage, particularly if it's got faster regen from being hacked. Route 66's Garage Mega is also a great example, whether you're attacking or defending. Also, Lijiang Night Market has a Mega outside of the point on both sides, which I see pro players hack all the time in both contexts. The simple rules are, hack it if either your team needs it or your enemy would really like to depend on it somewhat. Hack targets. So perhaps the biggest change from old Sombra to the reworked version is in where the value lies for her kit defining ability. The old Sombra could play a backline harassment role on the enemy support line. Hack a Zen, kill him, translocate out, easy value. Well now, because Ana and Brig are so strong at defending themselves and each other crucially, doing that is often not the play. You will very likely not be able to kill anything if you try and do that. The access to value in this meta is very direct and swift. Think of what Doomfist could have done to your team while you're not doing much in their backline. He could legitimately have killed 3 targets in the time it takes for you to achieve very little. Now, I'm not going to say that you'll never be behind your enemies, because you will, quite often in fact. There is definite value in using infinite Invis to scout what the enemy have and where they're set up. That's a huge part of Sombra's gameplay loop. And the pros will actually hack a backline target if a golden opportunity presents itself. Say like if they know an Ana has nano and has ISO'd themselves to the point where peel help from their team is unlikely, then sure. But most of the time, the best value you can get from hack is by targeting either a main shield tank like Rhine, or say a D.Va whose defense matrix can negate infinite damage. Winston too is a popular target, as he's basically dead if he's committed in and you get a hack on him. A good tip I learned from watching Danteh is targeting Rhine for a hack while he's fire striking. It's almost the perfect amount of time, and his animation gives him even less of that time to react to you. The thing about hacking D.Va that I want you guys to understand is that yes, she's a huge value target, but she's also one of the best answers to Sombra. Top level divas will be aware of your presence and will try to use their guns to locate you through spam. It's also a lot easier for her to disrupt your hack on her by hitting you with just 1 bullet than it is say Ryan turning his shield in time, particularly if you're above him. But if you can get either a main tank hack or say a diva, then you start to ask your enemies really difficult questions. They have to pour their resources into keeping one or the other alive, and your team suddenly has space to take advantage of. This is also good for you because hacking tanks is the best way to start farming for EMP, as they're so fat and easy to shoot, which I want to stress should be your goal at all times. This is why you can't be wasting time in the backlines not killing anything. EMP is a top 3 ult in the game and can stop dead some of your enemy's biggest pushes or stalwart defenses. Your enemies might be trying to stack ults like a grab combo, come in and try to use them, and then boom, we're all hacked and now we're all dead. So the simplest expression of her gameplay loop is Invis and Scout, pick a money target like a big fat tank with damage negation abilities, hack it, and call it out so that your team can take advantage and then contribute your own supportive damage while building EMP and getting follow-up hacks. This will mean that you spend a lot more time with your team than you might think is natural, but that's what you're supposed to be doing. Now the complexity to add on top of that is in another way that you can use Sombra, which is in protection for your team from enemy threats that want to go for your backline. This is where she can shut down a Doomfist or a Genji and make their job no fun at all. Plus, because you can be invisible, they won't know you're there. Doom doesn't really have any ranged poke game to speak of. He's all, I pick something to attack, slam, shoot, upcut, shoot, rocket punch away. That can destroy teams all on its own, but the thing is, he has to commit to do that. As Sombra, you can make sure he never gets out alive. Hacking him on the way in or when he's trying to use his uppercut is actually fairly easy, and if he keeps dying early, your backline is left free to continue to keep your front line alive. Genji can play a bit more standoffish, trying to build Blade from range with shurikens, but at some point he will commit, particularly once we're into the mid-fight. A good trick I see pro Sombras use is hack him while he's wall climbing or reflecting. He actually can't do much about it, and if he's blading, a hack then can get huge value. Another good matchup for this sort of enforcer role is actually the Sombra mirror. When she tries to hack one of your team, you can hack her in return. With no translocator escape for her, she's very often as good as dead. The real key is uptime. You need to be either setting up your team with a hack on a tank and building EMP, or protecting your vulnerable teammates from being exploited. Some fights, you'll do both. The less time you spend passively on your own, the better. EMP use. Right, so there are many ways that you can get value out of EMP. You can use it to set up other ults like a Shatter or a Diva Bomb. You can use it to stuff incoming ults that you know are probably coming, and you can use it to make ones that your enemies have got off way less effective. EMPing a Nano Genji Blade can quite often save your team, for example. But the pros use it in the right place at the right time, depending on what will get the most value. Their reading of the game is so good that accurately tracking all of these variables to make sure its use is a dagger in the heart of the enemy team. That's the hardest part of it, and because it takes so long to build, you had better not waste it. If you're using it offensively or defensively, there are some things to consider. Firstly, it might not matter if you get 5 people with it, if a Zen or a Lucio can still beat or trance to save everyone. It might be tempting to go for the biggest greedy play, but actually stopping something specific might mean you win more often. The pros use Invis to scout and make sure they get these powerful ults off the table, particularly if the enemy is retaking into them, and then they do something that will definitely help you. All of the pro players in today's video do something I call hack stacking. What this is hacking a specific target as EMP is fading, so they effectively get hacked twice. EMP tells you which targets have their ult, and you must make use of this info to select the right target for that second hack. Say a Rhine that has Shatter, or a Winston that has Primal Rage, a Lucio that has Beat, or a Zarya that has Grab, things like this. Keeping that powerful ability silenced can win entire fights if your EMP hasn't done so already. If they're all up and your enemies have tried to stack their ults, then you might have to pick in order of priority. The most common targets for hack stacking are a main tank like Rhine, or an off tank like Zarya or Diva, or a support with the ability to keep their teammates alive like Lucio. If you've EMP'd a Zen, they really should be dead, as his shields get erased by your ult. It's the same for Zarya, although not to the same extent. Hack stacking is really nasty and can really tilt enemy players and deny them their huge potential value. Get in the habit of doing it. Pro traits. Now in this final section, I will cover some of the little things that pros do that can have a huge impact. The first one is calling. Sombra is very team orientated, and her best utility requires follow-up. Hack is not a stun. It gets value when your team focus the target it's on. To do this properly, all the pros without exception are active on their mic, giving basic calls about what they're doing, where the enemy are, and what they have. This makes it clearer for their team to play with them. A silent, non-communicative Sombra is not one that can get the best out of her kit. Now in solo queue you might find it hard to get your team to play with you, even if you are calling, depending on what rank you're at. In those cases, it can be a struggle to get anything done with her, in a similar way to say Lucio, whose best ability, Speed Boost, requires you and your teammates to be on the same page. If that's not happening and your team aren't following up, then it might be time to pick something else. Likewise, despite me showing you quite a lot of different footage, the pros don't play her everywhere. Sombra is very strong on 2CP traditionally, EQO always plays her on Busan Control as well, but maps with limited flanking routes or that are very narrow don't give Sombra the room she needs to weave in and out of the battlefield effectively. When you get really good, you might be able to make her work on, say, King's third attack, but there might be times where some other pick is needed. This is what the pros do. They play her where she can get leverage and swap in other contexts. And finally, let's talk about her damage and the pros who I've used today as examples. Danteh, Effect and EQO all have fantastic aim. They are therefore able to use such a low damage weapon like Sombra's machine pistol and still kill things. It does have a lot of ammo, but your tracking needs to be at a certain level to get stuff done. That's why you see them duel other DPS and come out on top. If you're just learning her, I highly advise you build up to that slowly and concentrate on hacking tanks and building ult before anything else. Sombra is indeed powerful, but she needs to be utilised carefully and deliberately, applying pressure on the right things at the right time. Hopefully by looking at how the pros actually play her, you'll now have a better grasp of what to do with her and when. And that's about it for today's video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a rating. If you never want to miss another video of ours again, please click the bell icon next to the subscribe button on our channel to join the notification squad. You'll be in great company. And finally, please follow the Your Overwatch Twitter. It's where you can find updates about new videos and other cool stuff. I've been Eddie the Chump, and until next time.